Breaking her silence, this grandma exposed the hotel after getting the worst room ever. Chapter 1: The Mysterious Beginning. From the very first moment, tension filled the air as Clara Bridges stepped into the Grand View Hotel, a place promising peace and luxury. Her heart raced with delight as she imagined long, tranquil afternoons lounging by the pool, delicate pastries at tea, and evenings spent watching sunsets paint the sky. But when she finally shuffled to her room, excitement morphed into bewilderment. The door creaked open to reveal a cramped, dingy space, a far cry from the glamorous photos she had scrolled through online. The tiny window framed a chaotic construction site buzzing with relentless hammers and drilling machines. Clara's pulse quickened in disbelief. Dust swirled in the air like unwelcome visitors, and the stale scent of mold nestled in the corners. This was no retreat. What had she gotten herself into? A wave of disappointment washed over her, but deep down, something surged within, a simmering indignation that demanded to break free. Clara pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling as she considered the dark truth behind the hotel's glitzy facade. She had always been the silent observer, raising her children with a gentle touch, never ruffling feathers. But this time would be different. She would not let this injustice fade into silence. As the night deepened, Clara began typing furiously on a social media post. Breaking her silence, this grandma exposed the hotel after getting the worst room ever. Instantaneously, she pressed publish. A rush of exhilaration coursed through her veins, igniting that long-buried fire. Tales of similarly disgruntled guests began flooding in. The hotel was hiding complaints like dirty secrets wrapped in a luxurious bow. Tension escalated as her outrage became a waking storm. Notifications buzzed like angry bees. Comments ranged from support to disdain. "Old ladies should be seen, not heard," cried one anonymous user. Clara's hands trembled with uncertainty. Yet firm resolve gripped her heart. She dove deeper, her resolve unraveling a web of cover-ups that led back to the hotel's ruthless owner. But another twist awaited her. Someone in that tangled story was her estranged daughter working. Right under the roof of the very hotel that had wronged her. A flood of memories surged through Clara. Past arguments, broken holidays, and the empty chair at family dinners. Her chest felt tight, the lump in her throat a painful reminder of their fractured relationship. Could she confront not just the hotel, but also the daughter she missed dearly? With each post, Clara's quest morphed into a fight, not just for justice, but also the chance to rebuild what was lost. Would her anger reach her daughter? The thoughts looped in her head, a whirlwind of emotion as she grappled with the harsh realities of her mission. Support blossomed from other guests, igniting a firestorm that rattled the hotel's foundation. Each notification felt heavy. What would come next? Clara took a deep breath. She was ready to face not just the hotel management, but also the ghosts of her past. Now, on the brink of confrontation and reconciliation, what awaited her in this tangled mess of truths and lies? As the noise of drills outside faded into a haunting lull, the truth loomed ever closer. What would Clara discover, and would she dare to confront it all? Clara stood on the precipice of confrontation, breathing heavily. The weight of her phone buzzed restlessly in her pocket, each notification a reminder of her daring stance. Her heart pounded loud in her chest. What awaited her? Would her daughter embrace her or cast her? Aside? The mere thought twisted like a knife in her gut. Outside, the construction's rumble throbbed, but Clara's focus shifted inward, each breath filled with purpose, anchoring her to this moment. Suddenly, there was a knock at her door, quick, urgent. A blend of fear and a flicker of hope sparked within her. Was it someone from the hotel? Or perhaps a supportive stranger from her growing online community? She hesitated for a beat, then wrenched open the door. Standing before her was a young woman, wide-eyed and frantic. The resemblance hit Clara like a punch. This wasn't just any guest. It was her daughter, Lucy. Shock pulsed through Clara's veins, disbelief tinged with confusion. "Lucy?" she whispered, barely able to breathe. Past the lump in her throat, but Lucy's face wasn't lit with joy. It was shadowed with dread. "Mom, you need to come with me, now." Clara's heart leaped. Did she really want to? Could she? "What's going on?" "Just trust me." Lucy's voice shook, urgency crackling in the air. It was as if the world outside had fallen silent, and only they existed in this charged moment. Clara nodded, stepping into the hallway. As they hurried through the dimly lit corridor, the weight of unspoken words filled the spaces between them. They burst through the glass doors and out into the night, where the cool air bit at their skin. Under the glow of streetlights, the chaos of the construction site met them. The noise was deafening, yet Clara felt a growing silence in her heart. "Mom, it's worse than we thought," Lucy said, her words slicing through the commotion. "The complaints? You're not the only one. The hotel? It's not just a bad experience. There are—" she hesitated, eyes darting around as if afraid of being overheard. "There are things happening that no one knows." "What do you mean?" Clara squeezed her daughter's arm, fear wrapping around her like a vice. Before Lucy could answer, a loud crash echoed from the nearby site, followed by a collective gasp from a gathering crowd. Clara's heart raced. She turned to see people pointing, faces frozen in horror. The noise was wild, a cacophony of chaos, and then flames erupted, licking at the night sky. The hotel above them seemed to tremble. Clara's breath stopped. The world spun. "Lucy!" she shouted, panic lacing her voice. But Lucy was already stepping away, her eyes wide, reflecting the fire. "Mom, we have to run!" They stumbled back, the overwhelming scent of smoke choking Clara. But in the throng of hastily retreating guests, Clara spotted something. A flash of red fabric. A woman wearing a similar dress to hers stood illuminated in the firelight, hands raised weakly, a terrified expression frozen on her face. Clara's heart dropped, recognition slamming into her. It was the hotel's owner, The one she read about. The one behind the cover-ups. But now, in this moment of chaos, was she even human? The flames danced closer, and the piercing screams of the panicked crowd cut through. Clara's feet felt rooted, torn between fear and a sudden urge to confront this twisting fate. The heat grew unbearable, but the truth loomed in front of her, both horrifying and seductive. Would she run away and leave the past behind, or face up to the truth, no matter the cost? Something shifted within Claire as she tore her eyes from the spectacle. In that instant, she realized this was bigger than just her hotel room. It was about betrayal, about justice, and perhaps, just perhaps, about healing the wounds from a lifetime. What would she choose in the flames? Of this reckoning? The flames flickered, casting a surreal glow as Clara stood frozen, staring at the chaos around her. Fear tightened its grip around her throat. The heat surged, a fiery warning of danger. But her heart hammered for more than just survival. "Mom, we have to move!" Lucy's voice broke through the swirling panic, urgency spilling into every word. But Clara was rooted, drawn to the sight of the owner staring back at her, vulnerable yet menacing in the firelight. Then, unexpectedly, the owner's eyes met Clara's, and for a heartbeat, everything else faded away. A flicker of recognition dawned in those depths, and Clara's breath caught. What was this feeling? A jolt of understanding, as if an ancient connection flipped alive. "Mom!" Lucy gripped Clara's arm, snapping her back to reality. "We need to go!" The throng of frightened guests rushed past, faces pale, hearts racing. And then came the sound that shattered the moment. A low rumble like thunder. Clara's heart sank. Something was about to break, and it wouldn't be gentle. The hotel trembled, a monstrous creature awakening from a slumber it didn't deserve. With a jolt, Clara tore her eyes from the owner and bolted toward Lucy. They raced into the street, leaving the burgeoning flames behind. But Clara's legs felt heavy. A secret clawed at her chest. Those eyes had spoken to her. "Get away!" a man shouted from a crumbling sidewalk. "Run! The building!" Boom! The ground shook, a violent tremor that rippled out from the hotel. Clara stumbled as the roaring inferno shot shards and debris into the night sky. The crowd screamed, a chorus of terror echoing through the abyss. In that maelstrom, something fluttered by Clara, blue and bright, a small object landing on the asphalt. It took her a moment to comprehend. It was a locket, glinting in the streetlight's glare. She bent down, heart racing, fingers trembling as she picked it up. Turning it over, her breath hitched. The picture inside, Lucy's baby photo, framed delicately along with another girl, one Clara didn't recognize but felt inexplicably drawn to. The child's smile was a mirror reflection of Lucy's own. The final puzzle piece snapping in place. "Mom, what are you doing?" Lucy tugged at her sleeve, panic painted across her face. But Clara remained transfixed, her insides churning. "Lucy, who is this girl?" Lucy's eyes widened, fear morphing into something deeper, something that felt almost like betrayal. "Put it down! It's just a trinket!" But Clara sensed the weight in her daughter's voice. Something was hidden beneath those words. "No," Clara insisted, voice trembling. Unsaid, hanging between them, like smoke. "You need to understand." But before she could finish, a deafening crack split the air. The hotel groaned as a huge section of the wall crumbled and crashed down, blocking their path back. "Run!" Clara screamed, adrenaline igniting. But inside her, confusion burned. The answer to everything just out of reach. The image of that unknown girl haunted her, demanding answers. As they dashed away, Clara's mind raced. What lay ahead of them was uncertain. But the fire was only one challenge. There were truths buried beneath the ashes of their relationship, and she felt them rising, smoldering in the air. Would she uncover the reality behind Lucy's silence? And why did the flames feel like the beginning of something much darker? The fire could consume all. Would they survive it together? The ground shook, sending tremors through Clara's legs. She felt Lucy's grip tighten, a lifeline in the chaos. They darted toward the nearest alley, dodging falling debris from the towering inferno. But the world around them blurred. Clara's heart pounded, not just with fear, but with an overwhelming need for answers. "Mom, we can't stop!" Lucy shouted. Panic splintering her voice. But Clara's mind raced, the locket heavy against her chest. The girl inside, who was she? Just then, a chilling scream sliced through the air. Clara's breath hitched as her eyes darted, drawn back to the lurking flames. The sight of the hotel was surreal, a monstrous beast engulfed in fire. But there, on the edge of the crowd, was the hotel owner, stumbling, her hair catching the light like flames, face twisted in fear. Before Clara could process it, a gigantic explosion rippled from the heart of the hotel. A massive burst of heat propelled them backward, sending both women crashing against the gritty pavement. Clara gasped, the impact knocking the air from her lungs, a sharp pain blooming in her side. "Get up!" Lucy cried, pulling Clara to her feet. But Clara's gaze was locked on the chaotic scene. A thick plume of smoke twisted toward the sky, suffocating the stars. Then, amid the panic, Clara caught the owner's eye again. Their stares locked for a split second. Clara felt a spark, a recognition that pierced the din. It was fleeting, but real. The owner stumbled again, her expression morphing from rage into something else, something almost pleading. Lucy's voice brought Clara back. "Mom, focus! Did you see that?" Clara wheezed, her heart pounding wildly. But before Lucy could respond, an event that felt like a nightmare unfolded before their eyes. A figure emerged from the crowd, moving like a shadow against the chaos. It was a man, face concealed in darkness, pushing through the frightened onlookers. Clara's stomach knotted. His presence was wrong, ominous. It felt like a storm gathering just beyond the horizon. In one swift movement, he grabbed the hotel owner, yanking her into a tight embrace, lifting her effortlessly off the ground. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "We have to go," he shouted, his voice booming over the eruption of chaos. "What is happening?" Clara whispered, horror flooding her senses. "Mom, run!" Lucy urged again, glancing back, eyes wide with panic. But Clara couldn't move. The man's next words chilled her to the bone. "This was never meant to happen. You shouldn't have found out," he spat, eyes blazing, which turned somehow accusingly toward Clara. The owner struggled, fear in her gaze, searching the crowd as if looking for something hidden. Clara's chest tightened. "Found out what?" she choked out. But the question hung in the air, unanswered. "Mom, please," Lucy begged, pulling at Clara's sleeve, desperation in her voice. Suddenly, the owner broke loose from the man's grasp, but not without a frightened scream that pierced the night. "It's too late! You don't understand!" Instinctively, Clara took a step backward, her heart galloping as she finally met Lucy's frantic gaze. "What don't I understand?" Then, just as the words slipped from Clara's lips, the man's face morphed, his identity shifting like shapes in a nightmare. The shadows peeled away to reveal features that were shockingly familiar. A face Clara recognized more than any other. It was a twisted reflection of the girl in the locket. "Lucy! Who is he?" Clara gasped, backing up, the world spinning like a whirlpool around her. But Lucy's expression turned to stone, the warmth ebbing from her voice. A silence fell, thick and heavy. "Mom, you're not ready for this!" The flames roared behind them, bending toward new revelations. Clara's breath quickened. Everything she thought she knew began to unravel. "Who is he, Lucy?" The urgency rose like the smoke billowing around them. But Lucy merely stared, tears pooling in her eyes. The truth loomed larger than the flames, dancing behind them, threatening to consume everything in its path. Would Clara dare to face what was coming next? Clara's heart thundered as she faced the man in the shadows, the figure now unmistakably familiar. "Who is he, Lucy?" She felt the weight of the locket pressing against her chest. The flames danced ominously, and time seemed to stretch, collecting the tension in the air like a tight string ready to snap. "Mom, it's not what you think!" Lucy shouted, voice quivering with urgency. But Clara couldn't take her eyes off him. There was something deep in those eyes, something she should have recognized long ago. "Who is he?" The words seeped from her, a desperate plea for truth. But before Lucy could respond, the man took a step forward, his voice a low rumble. "You need to understand, Clara. It was never just about the hotel." The chaos around them fell into silence. Clara felt the world tilt, the crowd behind her, a mere backdrop to this shocking revelation. "What do you mean? What could be worse than this?" Her heart raced, breath catching her throat. "Family secrets run deeper than you know," he said, eyes glinting as the flames illuminated his face. Suddenly, the resemblance clicked. "Handle the truth? I thought it was best you didn't know," Lucy yelled, desperation radiating from her. He has information about Dad and why he left." Clara's head spun. "What do you mean? What does Dad have to do with this?" "We're all connected in ways you didn't realize," the man said, stepping closer, urgency in his every gesture. "The hotel's destruction isn't random. It's all tied to our family. People were silenced for knowing too much." A tremor rocked Clara. She felt sick, the truth clawing at her insides like a wild animal. "Stop. Just stop." But the man pressed on. "Your father didn't just walk out on you. He was silenced. And the hotel, well, it holds the key to everything." In that instant, a resounding crash shattered the air behind them. Flames roared higher, ash raining down like confetti of despair. Clara's heart raced uncontrollably. She caught a glimpse of a figure, the hotel owner, now engulfed in flames, hands flailing in an attempt to escape the blazing inferno. "Mom, we have to go!" Lucy screamed, fear in her voice. But Clara was frozen, her mind reeling, trying to piece together a lifetime of secrets. "Why were you hiding this?" She looked between Lucy and the man, searching their faces for reassurance that didn't come. "What else are you keeping from me?" Suddenly, a low rumble echoed again, like thunder marching in a storm. The hotel shook, violently crumbling, cracking, debris tumbling down. Clara glanced back, horrified. What lay behind her could destroy everything. And then, amid the chaos, the man surged forward, gripping Clara by the shoulders with intense urgency. "Trust me, Clara. We have to break this cycle before it's too late." In that moment, she felt the electric jolt of connection, a sense of familiarity that shook her to the core. "I don't know you," she gasped, reality splintering. But she could see in his eyes a glimmer of truth. Flames roared, the peril close. Clara needed to decide. Would she leap into this tangled mess of family secrets, or flee from the fire consuming her past? Time slipped away, darkness looming ever closer, and as she stood teetering on the edge of discovery, an unexpected explosion shook the ground, sending Clara tumbling into Lucy's arms. A blinding light consumed everything, and in the midst of dust and smoke, the world, their world, started to drift into oblivion. Would this moment reshape everything they thought they knew about their family? Would they emerge from the ashes, or would the darkness swallow them whole? The world spun as Clara held on to Lucy, the ground shaking beneath them. Her heart raced, the flames licking closer. The hotel was coming down, crumbling, and all she could see was chaos. Heard her. The man, the brother she never knew she had, stood before her, a twisted echo of her own life. Everything about him screamed familiarity, but the reality felt insurmountable. Before Clara could gather her thoughts, the man stepped closer again. "We need to move." His urgency pressed upon her, palpable as the heat from the fire. But as she glanced back at the hotel, something caught her eye, something shining amidst the ash and debris. The locket. It fluttered near the entrance, forgotten in the chaos. Clara felt a tug, both for the piece of jewelry and the weight of her memories. "Lucy, I need to get it. It's important." "Mom, no!" Lucy cried. But the pull was too strong. Clara broke. Free from Lucy's grasp, racing towards the entrance, ignoring the shouts of those around her. The flames swirled above her, crackling ominously. She could almost hear them whispering secrets. As she dove forward, a fresh wave of heat slammed into her. Hurdling obstacles, Clara's hand reached out instinctively. She grabbed the locket just as a deafening roar filled the air. Something within her shattered. This wasn't just a trinket. It was a key to everything. "Clara, come on!" Lucy's voice pierced through the roar, shaking her from her trance. But as she turned back, her blood ran cold. The hotel owner, that haunted figure, was collapsing right before her eyes. "Get away!" the owner screamed, just as a portion of the wall buckled and fell. The man turned, shoving both Clara and Lucy aside, sacrificing his own escape for theirs. Time slowed. Clara felt the air rush as if it were a tidal wave, pushing her backward. And in that split second, she cried out, "No!" But it was too late. As the dust settled, a gasp rippled through the crowd. The wall collapsed, and Clara's heart dropped. The man, the brother, was gone. Choking on disbelief, Clara staggered back, her vision swaying. Amidst the chaos, something clicked inside her. "Idea! I thought—" But her words faltered. Clara's chest tightened, betrayal clawing at her heart. "You thought what? That this was just about the hotel? About my memories? You knew him, Lucy!" Another crash echoed from the hotel, but Clara couldn't look away. "How could you hide this? After all this time?" The lump in her throat threatened to suffocate her. Trust, the fragile thread between them, felt like it was unraveling. "Mom, I swear!" But before Lucy could finish, a shockwave collided with the ground. Someone emerged from the debris. It was the hotel owner, but she wasn't alone. Clinging to her was a small girl with the same striking features, looking up with wide, terrified eyes. The haunting reflection of a lost child. "Clara!" the owner screamed, eyes blazing with a mix of panic and determination. "You need to go. This is about your family. You have to understand." "Who is she?" Clara gasped, breathless. The little girl trembled, glancing between the woman and Clara. But the horror dawned, an icy grip on her heart. Clara's mind raced, a whirlwind of thoughts colliding, her fading into obscurity. This child held the key to everything, the truth she had sought. "Run!" The girl squeezed the owner's hand, eyes darting between Clara and the chaos. And then it hit. Clara understood. Family, secrets, lies, all woven into a web of destruction. "No," she breathed, her heart racing. "All this time, it's just begun, hasn't it?" In that brief moment, everything changed. The truth threatened to swallow her whole. Relationships shattered, identities transformed. As the flames roared, Clara stood on the edge, teetering between fear and revelation. Was this new reality meant to free them, or bind them to an even darker fate? She didn't know if she had the strength to face what loomed ahead. The flames danced like wild spirits, curling around the remains of the hotel. Clara's heart raced, a chaotic symphony of dread and urgency. The little girl's wide eyes locked onto hers, fear and curiosity mingling within them. "Please, we have to go," Lucy urged, reaching out. But Clara felt rooted to the spot, an invisible thread anchoring her to the truth. "Who is she?" Clara's voice shook, yet a whisper echoed against her better judgment, desperate for answers. The owner, still clutching the girl's small hand, was breathing heavily. "She's important, Clara. The key to everything." The flames crackled, threatening to drown out her words. But the intensity in her gaze didn't waver. Suddenly, with a blast that felt like the earth splitting, the hotel erupted into a colossal fireball. It lit up the night sky, illuminating everything in its path, and a wave of heat washed over them. Clara stumbled backwards, shock coursing through her veins. "Mom, we have to run!" Lucy shouted again, her voice lost amid the chaos. But Clara stood frozen, watching the scene unfold. The owner crumpling to the ground, the girl trying to shield her. Something primal tugged at Clara. An overwhelming sense of protection surged forward. And then, in a heart-stopping moment, Clara understood. The girl's resemblance to Lucy wasn't just coincidence. It was a revelation that soaked through her being. "Lucy, is she your sister?" Clara gasped, disbelief searing her mind. The flames roared, louder, drowning her words in fire and fury. But before Lucy could respond, the owner's words pierced the air again. "We never wanted this for you! You have to break the family curse!" she cried out, her voice breaking with emotion. Clara felt the ground beneath her tremble. "What curse?" Clara demanded, her voice rising above the inferno. The owner's expression flickered, sorrow and torment dancing in her eyes. "Your father, he didn't leave. He was taken because of what he knew. The hotel, it was built on secrets, dark ones. They're coming for us all." Clara's breath hitched. "What do you mean, taken?" But just then, another explosion erupted from the hotel, shocking flames sending debris crashing toward them. Clara instinctively grabbed Lucy and the little girl, holding them close as they fell to the ground, shielded by instinct and fear. The heat closed in, and Clara's mind raced. "We need to get to safety." But as they scrambled to their feet, a familiar figure emerged from the smoke. It was the man, the brother, his face bruised but alive, eyes blazing with fire. "We need to leave. It isn't over. You have no idea what's awakening. He stepped forward, urgency in his voice, but Clara's mind churned. Awakening? What did that mean? And before anyone could react, the ground shook violently beneath them. A deep rumble echoed from within the hotel, and as Clara turned her head, she saw what they had all feared, a massive crack splintering through the earth, racing towards them like a hungry beast. "Run now!" the brother yelled as the ground shattered. But Clara, tightness in her throat, felt a sudden push of determination. "What is it? What's coming?" The fear in her voice matched the tremors beneath her feet. And that's when the truth landed like an anvil. The little girl looked up at Clara, eyes wide, and whispered, "We need you to stop them." Time stopped in that moment. Clara realized the depth of what they faced. The ties that bound them weren't just familial. They were rooted in an ancient battle, a struggle of truth buried in history. As the ground continued to tremble, Clara's heart raced, blood pounding in her ears. "What do you mean?" she asked, grasping the girl's small shoulders, hoping to hold on to the fleeting sense of understanding. Just then, a blinding light shone from the hotel ruins, brighter than anything she had ever seen. It pierced through the chaos, igniting a sense of urgency and fear. Clara gasped, a chill creeping down her spine. What was awakening? What did it all mean? In that moment of confusion, a fireball erupted, a colossal wave of flame, sending a shockwave, knocking everyone backward. It engulfed the hotel in a consuming blaze, and Clara's world blurred into chaos. Would they survive the revelation? Would their past engulf them? Or was this just the beginning? Clara watched in horror as the inferno roared higher, the heat searing at her skin. She gripped the locket tightly in her hand, her heart racing wildly. The world around her blurred. The fragility of her family felt more palpable than ever, and the weight of those secrets pressed down hard. "Mom, run!" Lucy screamed again, but Clara couldn't move. She was frozen, caught between her past and this moment, the fire eating away at the ruins of her life. The heat intensified, but she couldn't tear her gaze away from the little girl or the hotel owner. As the screens crescendoed and chaos unfolded, the shadows cast elongated figures around them. The owner clutched the girl, eyes wide with fear. "You have to accept it, Clara. To defeat what's coming, you must embrace your past." But in that instant, the ground shook again, fiercer this time. Clara felt the vibrations travel through her feet, up to her chest. The facade of the hotel threatened to collapse. Panic clawed at her throat. She turned to Lucy, but the familiar warmth in her gaze flickered with uncertainty. "Stand back!" Clara shouted, instinct kicking in. But just as she tried to pull Lucy closer, the little girl broke free from the owner's grasp. She stepped forward as if drawn by an invisible force. "No!" the owner screamed, but it was too late. The girl looked up at Clara, eyes shimmering, as if she held a universe of knowledge. "I was sent to find you," she said, voice a whisper above the flames. "You're the only one, Clara." Before she could finish her thought, an immense crack ripped through the ground, splitting the earth wide open beside them. Clara's heart sank. A live wire! He stepped toward her, face pale but eyes blazing with urgency. "Clara, you have to listen!" The flames crackled, their heat closing in, but Clara was paralyzed by shock. "You left us. You let us believe you were gone." "No! I was forced to leave!" he shouted over the roar of the fire, desperation spilling from him. "It's all connected to the hotel. Ever since it was built, dark forces have sought our family. I tried to protect you both." Lucy stepped beside Clara, her mouth agape. "You're our father? But how?" "I'm sorry. I couldn't tell you. I didn't want to put you in danger," he said, voice shaking. "But now it's worse than ever. They've awakened something. That little girl is—" Before he could finish, the hotel shuddered again, and a deafening explosion echoed, sending debris flying. Clara's entire being trembled with the shock. Everything she thought she knew was twisting into something grotesque. "Dad, where were you? Why did you let us suffer?" Clara's voice broke with a mix of anger and fear. The growing flames warped the light around them, shadows twisting menacingly. "I had no choice," he cried, but just then, part of the hotel's roof collapsed, blocking their path to safety. "You must trust me." Clara's heart raced. Trust? How could she, when everything about her past felt like a lie? "You can't expect me to believe you." "I'm your father." "I never wanted you to find out this way." His desperation hit like a wave. "We have to escape before it all collapses." "Clara!" Lucy screamed, dragging her back as another blast of heat washed over them. But Clara's mind raced, the locket cold in her grip. "What do you mean it's connected? What have you been hiding?" "Everything. The powers tied to the hotel. The family curse that binds us. You must break it." He met her gaze, and in that moment, she saw the flicker of raw emotion. Regret, fear, and something deeper that felt almost like love. Just as Clara began to wrap her mind around it, an ear-splitting roar erupted from the flames. The shadows shifted, revealing shapes. All the people Clara thought were innocently caught in the chaos were instead walking toward her, faces fixated, menacing. A wave of dread washed over her. "Clara!" Lucy yelled, eyes wide with terror. "Get out of here!" In that moment, Clara realized the twist of fate. The secrets weren't just buried, they were alive. A cycle threatened to trap her once more in the darkness. The truth was not just horrifying, it was a beginning, a twisted path forward that could either bind them together or tear them apart forever. As the ground shook, the realization hit. The fight was far from over. Would they face this head on, or would the flames consume them for good? Clara felt a flood of emotion swirl inside her. They were all intertwined in a vicious web, and the threads of fate were tightening. Would they escape this nightmare? Or was this only the start of something darker? Clara's heart thundered in her chest as she stared at the man she had just recognized as her father. He had abandoned them, left her to deal with the trauma of his absence. Lucy's eyes brimmed with disbelief, mirroring Clara's own. The flames danced, casting ominous shadows that flickered across their faces. "You left us!" Clara's voice trembled, mixing anger with desperation. "Why now? Why should I trust you?" "Because the past is coming back for us," he said, urgency flooding his tone. "I didn't just disappear. I had to protect you both. They would have killed you if I didn't." Before he could finish, something shifted in the air. The ground shook violently again. A sharp crack slicing through the tension. The hotel moaned under the weight of the fire. And then it happened. An explosion that sent glass and debris soaring into the night sky. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. "Get down!" shouted a voice. But Clara didn't move. The flames roared. And in the heat, she saw shadows leap like angry spirits. It was then that Clara noticed Lucy moving closer to the little girl. "Stay back!" she yelled. But Lucy hesitated, peering into the girl's frightened eyes. "Lucy, no!" Clara reached out, but the ground felt like it was splitting apart. "Mom, I need to know!" Lucy's voice faltered, and in that instant, the flames flared again, illuminating a twisted figure from the darkness. It was the hotel owner, her eyes wild and frantic. "Clara!" she cried, voice piercing through the chaos. "You have to break it! You can't let this thing come back!" "What are you talking about?" Clara felt dizzy, heart racing with confusion. But just then, from within the smoke, a figure emerged, tall and dark, moving with a predator's grace. Clara felt a jolt of terror. "No, it can't be!" she gasped, recognition hitting her like a punch in the gut. It was the man who had been lurking in the shadows, the one who had grabbed the hotel owner. But there was something unnervingly familiar about him. The flames cast a glow, and it revealed his face, chillingly similar to her father's. "Dad?" Clara stammered, confusion clawing at her mind. "Is it?" With a swift movement, he turned toward Clara, eyes reflecting the blazing inferno. "You shouldn't have come here, Clara. You're not ready for what's coming." "What do you mean?" Clara's voice cracked, panic surging. "What are you hiding?" Suddenly, the little girl cried out, startling everyone. "No! You can't let him! You can't!" She struggled against the hotel owner's grip, eyes wide with fear. "Stop!" Clara shouted. The chaos swirled around them, heartbeats echoing the roar of the flames. "I'm not who you think I am." The man swallowed hard, a shuddering breath escaping him. "I was created to protect the hotel, but the curse—" "Curse?" Clara interrupted, bewildered. "What curse? What are you talking about?" Then, in a swift, shocking moment, the hotel owner gripped the girl's hand tighter, her face contorted with resolve. "Clara, you have to understand. Your father isn't just a man. He's something else." But before she could finish, an explosion erupted, sending Clara and Lucy screaming to the ground. As dust swirled around them, Clara blinked away the chaos. All she could see was her father's eyes, filled with urgency, yet an unfathomable pain. They're coming, Clara. You need to find the truth, now. The hotel's foundation crumbled behind them, and panic swept through the crowd. Clara's heart raced. The truth dangled like an unsteady thread, teetering on the edge of revelation. Then, amid the cacophony, the little girl's voice cut through everything. "You're not ready for this, Clara." "Ready for what?" Clara shouted, the weight of uncertainty crushing her. Except, just as the fire blazed behind her, the man's features twisted suddenly, morphing into the face of someone else entirely. A devastating realization clanged in Clara's chest like an iron bell. That man was her father's brother. "Wait!" Clara gasped, fingers trembling as she pieced it together. You're not the one I thought you were." Before she could grasp the enormity of that statement, a deep roar erupted from the flames, drowning out her thoughts. The inferno swirled in a haunting dance, beckoning them toward a truth that felt somehow sinister. Could she face what lay in her family's shadow? What truly bound them all together, and who would emerge from the ashes? The walls kept closing in, and Clara was left standing there, questions spinning in her mind like a tornado. Who were they, really? And could they still escape the flames together? Or was this merely the prelude to something far worse? The flames raged behind them, illuminating their faces in a hellish glow. Clara's heart raced as she stood between the truth and destruction. Her father's eyes burned with urgency. "You have to trust me, Clara. This hotel, it only exists because of the darkness. We need to break the cycle." "Break the cycle?" Clara echoed, mind swirling with confusion. What does that even mean? She felt Lucy's grip tighten on her arm, the fear in her eyes mirroring her own uncertainty. "Your power is stronger than you realize. We need to confront the truth together. You can end it," he exclaimed, desperation lacing his words as the hotel shuddered again, walls cracking under the pressure of the flames. He turned to the little girl, who looked up at Clara with wide, pleading eyes. "Do it. For her. You know it's not just about us anymore." The little girl nodded, her innocence serving as a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding them. "You're the only one who can save us." Her small hands trembled as she reached out toward Clara, sincerity radiating from her gaze. In that moment, Clara felt the weight of their past crushing down on her. The shadows of her family's secrets twisted in the flames, lurking like dormant monsters ready to pounce. I don't know if I can," she whispered, tears brimming. Guilt washed over her. Years of pain and confusion swirled in her heart. "Together," Lucy insisted, stepping closer to Clara. "We do this together." Her voice was soft, but firm, a lifeline in the storm. Clara looked back at her father, and for the first time, she saw fear mingled with hope in his eyes. It sparked something within her, a spark of courage rising against the darkness. "Okay," Clara said, determination solidifying within her. "Let's do this!" They turned toward the flames, the heat searing, but something shifted. A pulse of energy radiated from Clara, strong and vibrant. She steeled herself against the overwhelming fear. "We're breaking this cycle. No more secrets." At that, the shadows writhed, and the hotel trembled as if it understood. A blinding light erupted from Clara's chest, cascading through the air like shimmering stars. It enveloped them, pushing the darkness back as if it were afraid of the light. "Feel it! Use it!" her father shouted amidst the chaos. "We are stronger than they think." Clara closed her eyes, focusing on the power within her. Memories flooded back, laughter, love, and the connections they forged through the years. The pain began to lift as she drew strength from those bonds. And then a fierce roar erupted from the shadows, the manifestation of a curse, angry and wild. "You dare?" it bellowed, but Clara didn't back down. With each breath, she pushed the light further, piercing through the depths of the darkness. The hotel shuddered, the echoes of its past resounding like a war cry. "We won't let you win!" Clara shouted, and her voice mingled with echoes of her family's history, a chorus of resilience. Suddenly, the shadows screamed, writhing and twisting as the light blazed brighter. Clara felt Lucy at her side, their hands clasping tightly as their determination surged. Together, they unleashed a torrent of energy, unstoppable, vibrant with a promise for a brighter future. With a deafening crash, the remnants of the hotel collapsed, darkness dissipating into the light. Clara opened her eyes. The fire was gone. The once menacing shadows had evaporated, replaced with a calming glow. The little girl ran to her, throwing her arms around Clara. "Thank you," she exclaimed, a warm smile lighting up her face despite the chaos. Clara knelt down, wrapping her arms around her tightly. "You did it," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. As the reality settled, Clara turned to Lucy, their eyes locking in understanding. They were no longer just mother and daughter. They were allies forged in the flames of truth. Together, they had faced the past and emerged anew. Her father stood a few steps away, eyes shining with pride. "You set us all free," he said, a heavy burden lifted from his shoulders. But just before Clara could respond, another rumble echoed in the distance, a reminder that past conflicts might not be fully resolved. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, hinting at unfinished business. But in that moment, it didn't matter. Clara smiled. "We'll figure it out." But as they took a breath of relief, a breeze whispered through the air, carrying the faintest hint of smoke. A new journey awaited. But for now, they had a moment, a precious moment of peace. Now this is the moment for you to take action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss our upcoming exclusive stories. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this explosive ending. And don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know what happens next. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel, so do it now.